Constancy Daniels, the Patchwork Girl. The clothmaker, whose name was Jerome Daniels, made the Patchwork Girl from all manner of cloth pieces, but used only threads of red to bind them. To look upon his creation, it may have appeared he worked amidst a shortage of materials, using whatever scraps remained, but in truth his design was particular and intentional. The clothmaker had produced countless fine works, each more perfect, intricate, and elegant than the one before, but those were always made for customers with their particular tastes. This one was different. This one he made for himself. It had become highly fashionable amongst the wealthy to keep a clothwork girl or a clothwork boy, or even a set of two or more. So fashionable, in fact, that a person whom did not possess such an item was considered vulgar and could be a target of much derision. They were curiosities and accessories, often used as centerpieces in collections of artwork, antiquities, and other assorted treasures, and they served a variety of purposes. They could serve breakfast or drinks or dance at parties to entertain guests. In fact, a living life-size doll could perform practically any role its master required of it. It was said that Her Majesty Queen Isabel owned more than 24 clothworks, which she kept in a half-scale model village that she had had specially built in the palace gardens. To most this was mere rumour, but the clothmaker knew it to be true, for he had by his own hands supplied nearly half the clothworks that populated the Queen's collection. The clothmaker put in place all the padding and filling that the patchwork girl's body would need, and covered over this with her cloth skin, and all of this was fitted onto the frame of her wooden skeleton. He had decided that she would be a young woman, around 18 years old. This seemed to him the ideal age to make her, for she would appear young enough to be allowed a small semblance of a childhood, while still being able to transition into adulthood when the time came. Despite the random nature of the patterns and colours with which he made her, the clothmaker had endeavoured to give her features pleasing shape. He had given her large eyes of fine glass that he had had commissioned specially for her, and these too were multi-toned in colour to match the rest of her. He had given her full lips and an ovular face. He had given shape to her hips and legs and feet, to her shoulders and arms and hands, to her breasts, belly, back, and buttocks. He had given great consideration to the ratio of the thickness of her neck to the width of her head. Most of all, he had taken particular care and attention to the structure and formation of her genitals, for it seemed a cruel thing not to. Her hair he made with long strands of finest wool, in every colour produced, with no two neighbouring lengths sharing the same tone, all carefully sewn into the surface of her scalp. He brought to hand a wide application brush and pried open a cask of previously prepared coating to be painted onto her cloth skin, a coating upon the surface that would soak into the cloth so as to render it waterproof and fire-resistant. Cheaper clothworks produced by less attentive clothmakers would be made without such protection, and would catch alight as soon as they came near any small spark, or perhaps become drenched and waterlogged and be rendered immobile and useless, unable to move under their own weight. He came at last to the final and most important part of her, her heart. Clothworks did not have brains, or organs of any kind. They had only a heart, and it was the formation of their heart that defined who and what they were. The clothmaker made her heart large to make her loving and kind, and he made it strong to make her resilient. Onto the heart he stitched her name. He named her Constancy Daniels, for this was the name he had wanted to give to a daughter. Below this, as had been done with all other clothworks before her, he stitched the role that she would fulfill. She would not be a possession or a servant, he promised. She would be a girl. She would be family. And so he stitched a single word, girl. He attached her heart into its place within her and sewed closed her chest. He dressed her in the clothes he had prepared for her, undergarments, skirt, shirt, socks, and shoes. He prepared a fire within his stove to fill the room with heat, and carefully sat the completed patchwork girl in front of it. With his work done, the clothmaker looked upon his completed creation and was tinged with a greater pride and joy than he had been for any previous work. He sat down, he rested, he waited. Heat and flickering light, perceivable through her eyelids. These were the first things she became aware of. She opened her eyes and saw him. He was sat away from her, across the room, staring at her with expectation, with hope and with doubt. She smiled. "Hello," she said. "I am Constancy Daniels. It is a pleasure to meet you."